music to the noise, yeah, the mess we make. Machine Bun Kelly, you can't in the fake. Facts and logic with a twist of chest. Strip it down to truth, yeah, forget the rest. Humor blows the lies right out of the park. Look beyond the shadows that set the dark. Sparks of laughter fire up the night, bringing clarity when they blur the fight. Cut through the chaos, yeah, the tangled lies. Fun Kelly with a set of clear eyes. Truths and jokes gonna rock this show. Step into light where the real facts glow. Step into
Hey there. And if you're here, then welcome to the Pun Show. I'm Kelly, Machine Bun Kelly. And it's been a bit since I've done one of these, and I just felt like I needed to do an emergency podcast. And I'm sorry for my hair and everything. I need to get a haircut. I've been sick for the last week, like physically sick, last 20 pounds, not doing well. But aside from that, we've got our country is close to being destroyed by the president of the United States. He tried it once already, and now he's trying it again. And what I mean, and people are going to be like, MAGAs, when you criticize Trump, they right away get very, very defensive and ignore any reality. So this is not for MAGAs. Don't tell me that, oh, you're never going to convince MAGAs that way. I'm not trying to convince MAGAs. This podcast is for people who resist MAGAs, all right? And there are some things that are disinformation, and part of what I want to do is just not everybody has time to sit around Googling crap. So I just want to provide you some information for the MAGAs that you know, when they say stupid crap, you can defeat them. And right now, we need to be what I can only think of calling as a peaceful army. I do not advocate for violence. I haven't punched anyone in, like over 50 years now. When I joined the military, I wanted to be put in either journalism or medical because I don't believe in killing people. And I don't think I could. If somebody were to, threaten my life, if I didn't, defend myself, I don't think I could. I just don't think I have the capacity to kill another human being, because I just feel too much decency towards humanity. So even the person that's killing me, I would rather have him survive and have a chance at reconciling himself than whatever. Hey, Christo, if you're open to joining me, I can send you a link. I would love to have you join me. But the thing I want to talk about today, and what's really got me pissed off, is last night, two things happened. Two. Everybody's talking about one, but two things happened. And they're, combined with the precedent of sicking the U.S. military on American citizens, and combined with the precedent of just saying somebody's a terrorist, and that means you can murder them at will. And if you don't believe me, just ask the 12 dead bodies floating out in the Gulf of Mexico. All right. Once he says you're a terrorist, he can kill you. So, all right, Christo, thanks. We got to do something together, though. I know you're like more of a prepared person than me. I'm more extemporaneous. All right, so um, what pisses me off is first of all the notion that all right, let me calm down and back up a little bit. And I've got a cat trying to climb up me right now. Maybe you guys can meet Sparky. He's my new cat. My old cat died. He was only 5. Anyway, so there's 2 things that happened. The first thing was what I was mentioning before. Sorry. 2 things happened. I will get this through. I promise. 2 things happened. The Antifa thing. He declared Antifa a terrorist organization, and the FCC threatened to strip ABC of its broadcast license if they didn't fire Jimmy Kimmel. And they use this pretext of an argument that there's something called a hoax rule. And the hoax rule is okay. Oh, okay. So the hoax rule is, sorry, I am really confusing myself. All right. So here it is. All right. The hoax rule, the reason it started is back in like 1990s, in the early 90s, there was a tendency of people, there was like a trend going on where radio stations would play pranks on people. And there were a couple of pranks. One involved setting a dumpster on fire, and it was called the dumpster volcano. You can look it up. I won't go into the details. The other one was a radio station said that they were being held hostage, and this of course gins up ratings and stuff, but it also means that the fire department had to go out and put to check out this dumpster, and it means the police had to come out and see if there was a like rescue this hostage situation, because people thought it was real because they were hearing it on the radio, and they called it into the police, and the police or the fire department answered, which is what they should do, right? So they made this rule that if you broadcast a hoax, and when they said hoax, they did not mean you got a detail wrong in something. When they said hoax, they meant you made up a thing. All right. There's a big difference between faking a hostage situation and getting a word wrong in a sentence. All right. So that's the background of the hoax law. And so this right here, I'm bringing up this hoax law so you can see it as I explain it. And I did not know what this was. I had to go and research it and learn about it because, I don't know everything, but the internet does. So, all right. First, it says, no license or permittee of any broadcast station shall broadcast false information concerning a crime or catastrophe if. Now, if that's all you read and you thought that Jimmy Kimmel was getting something wrong about his monologue, then you go, oh, yeah, that sounds like what he did. He spread false information. But we'll go through. First, the information wasn't false, but if you're a MAGA, you think it was. But even if it was, it wouldn't apply. Because one, the licensee must know this information is false. We still don't know what Tyler Robinson's ideology is. We don't know that he's not at all MAGA. And we don't know that he's left wing. What we do know, and if you were online at the time it happened like I was, then you know for a fact MAGA was absolutely renting their clothes and tearing out their hair in biblical proportions, trying to persuade everybody that this guy was not MAGA. He was 100% cultivated by trans, gay, left-wing Antifa universities and CGOs or whatever. It was everybody's fault but Ryan's. All right. Now, I've been thinking about this, and like, what is his ideology? We do not know. I am not saying this is what his ideology is at all, but I'm piecing together things that we do know for a fact, right? We know for a fact that he was raised in a Mormon home. We know for a fact that all his family is MAGA. We know for a fact that he called himself a Second Amendment defendant in his yearbook quote. Like, that's not something left-wing extremists put in their yearbook quote. So until he was done with high school, he was generally, like, his friends and everybody considered him a conservative. He did not go off to college and get corrupted or whatever the MAGA nuts want to call it. He went off to college, and when he was in college, he, I don't know if he met his lover in college or after college, but at some point he fell in love with somebody that right-wing people generally would not accept that relationship with. So I think probably what happened is, one, he got exposed outside his bubble. He got exposed to a world outside his little MAGA bubble. I think the heart wants what it wants. He probably did not think he would ever fall in love with a transgender person. I don't know what the trans person's pronouns are, so that's why I'm avoiding using them. So I think I'll just refer to them as they for now, since it's neutral. But he did not know what their he did not know he was going to fall in love with them. He could never see. If you had told him his senior year in high school, you know what, you're going to fall in love with this person that you think is the sun and moon. You're going to fall in love like you never thought, but it's a transgender person. Do you think he wouldn't have believed you? But there he was. And his parents are telling him how evil it is all the time. And he's listening to Charlie Kirk and right-wing pundits tell him how evil it is. And so I don't think that what he felt initially was anger. I think what he felt initially was a tremendous amount of inner turmoil. And, what we I don't find any fault in him falling in love with a transgender person. But his parents did. And all his mentors growing up did. And a lot of people that he really loved did. And if you have lived in America during the last 10 years, then you know someone you have had this kind of conflict with. Like where you just see them, like, not necessarily exactly, tit for tat kind of thing. I'm not saying everybody falls in love with a transgender person, but people and have fallen in love with, or the people and love that are MAGAs, to where there is this barrier between you. And it's like you either have to accept what they think or lose them. And those are your own parents. That's much harder, especially when you've had this religious upbringing where you're, like, told, honor your parents. It's like in the 10 Commandments and everything, right? So he's got this conflict going on. And on the one hand, he loves his parents, which is fine. And on the other hand, he loves this person that he met, which is also fine. But those two loves conflict with each other in his heart. He does not know what to do. And so he starts getting frustrated, and that frustration turns into anger. And then that anger finds a target, and that target was Charlie Kirk. And I am not saying, and please do not lie about me, I am not saying that means Charlie Kirk deserved to get shot. I am just trying to understand what would drive a person who had never been violent before to all of a sudden murder somebody. I do not think it was either because he was left wing or because he was right wing. I don't think it was because he was trans or because he was anti-trans. I think it was because he did not know how to deal with all that and he didn't seek help. But this conflict created in him by the very divisiveness that has come since the assassination caused him so much conflict because he had both voices in his head. It's like the devil and the angel on your shoulders yelling at you, and neither one will ever just shut up. So he goes out and he kills somebody. I'm not saying that's a justification. I'm saying that's the reason. At least that's what I believe is the reason. I could be 100% wrong. I'm not saying this is fact. I'm not reporting anything. I am just saying from everything I've read, the man has people he loves who are both left and right. I do not think that you can detract from that any kind of political motive or you know, political ideology. I think if you were to write a manifesto, I do not think it would be you know, like a cohesive left or right leaning type thing. All right. So now, having said all that, was what Jimmy Kimmel said false? I mean, what did Jimmy Kimmel say? I want to get his words. This is my Substack article that I just finished writing. But Kimmel's exact quote was, "The MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them, and doing everything they can to score political points from it." Now, is what he said actually wrong? Okay, so is the MAGA gang trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them? Yes, they are. Are they doing everything they can to score political points from it? They literally just stripped the First Amendment. I think that qualifies. Like, yes, they were doing everything they could. They blamed universities and, you know, nonprofit organizations and you know, like just the left, whoever the hell that is. I don't know who the left is. The left is like, it's not some sort of like single entity. There are, like, I am on the left, and if you get two people in the same fucking room that sorry, I shouldn't swear. Two people in the same room that agree with each other, you can't get two people on the left to agree with each other on three different things. It's so, like, it's frustrating. I've been trying to work with people on the left just to, like, oppose fascism. Like, the left is not a monolith. But hey, now if you disagree with Donald Trump, you're a terrorist. All right. So, okay. So they're trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than them and doing everything they can to score political points from it. That is an accurate statement. That is not a lie. There is nothing untrue to what he said. All right. Nothing. What he said is absolutely factual. And if it offends you that I say he's factual, too bad. It's true. If the truth offends you, you need to learn, not cry. All right. So first of all, for the broadcast hoax to apply, the broadcast hoax rule to apply, this is the one that they are using to justify the government stripping the First Amendment. It says, no licensee or permittee of any broadcast station shall broadcast false information. It wasn't false concerning a crime or catastrophe if the licensee knows this information is false. Well, you can't know the information is false if it's not false. When it says false, it means you stage, you fake a hostage situation in a radio station. It doesn't mean somebody said a sentence in a monologue that disagrees with you. Second, it is foreseeable that broadcast of information will cause substantial public harm. Well, it wasn't foreseeable that it could cause substantial public harm because it didn't cause substantial public harm. And then it has to, in fact, directly cause substantial public harm. Now I can hear the MAGAs all whining and crying, getting upset and gyrating and doing all their little hair pulling and tearing off their shirts and going Hulk Hogan and bananas and ape crap crazy. All right. But that does not apply, because right down here it says, for this purpose of this rule, public harm must begin immediately. There were no riots in the street after Jimmy Kimmel said it. Where was the harm? And cause direct and actual damage to the property or to the health and safety of the general public. Was there any property damage? Was anybody hurt? I'm sorry. Feelings boo-boos do not count as the legitimate public harm. In America, you have the right to offend people. So that means if you are not getting offended sometimes, you are not living in a country that has free speech. And I'll say this to everybody. I do not participate in any kind of cancel culture because I don't believe in that. You punish people who aren't responsible for what somebody did when that happens. It's not just the person that got hurt that is hurt, or the person that did the thing wrong that is hurt. Usually, it's a whole lot of innocent people that had nothing to do with it to get hurt. When you try, now you've got some people that want to cancel ABC in reaction to Trump wanting to cancel ABC. All right. But there are all kinds of people at ABC who have jobs that have nothing to do with either Jimmy Kimmel or Donald Trump. So I encourage you, don't do that. Don't cost other people their jobs over crap they had nothing to do with. But anyway, that's why this rule does not apply. One, there was nothing untrue. There was no hoax. There was nothing made up. It wasn't foreseeable that there would be no damage because there was no damage at all. And if you cry because he was not a big enough fan of Charlie Kirk or show appropriate mourning for the guy that joked about Paul Pelosi's attempted murder, then too bad. Charlie Kirk was still a dick. He didn't become undickish because he got killed. I also think it's wrong that the guy got killed, but that doesn't make him a better person. It doesn't make his racist screeds on his podcast any less racist. It doesn't make his anti-trans rhetoric any less hateful or harmful to trans people. All the hateful, evil, mean, cruel, malicious, lying, stupid things he said do not get improved because he got killed. He is not a martyr, and he is not Jesus Christ. I saw somebody, like people comparing him to Jesus Christ. If he had met Jesus Christ, he would have called Jesus Christ a libtard. All right. So, let's, so there's that, right? First of all, sorry, I've missed all these comments because I was, okay. Okay, thank you. I have no idea. I'm just going to call you Delta Girl, if that's okay, because I don't know how to pronounce that other stuff, but yes, thank you. And hi, Sunny. And Sunny says, and I agree, political violence is wrong. You know what else is wrong? Oh, I'm sorry, that's Christo. Political violence is wrong no matter who you are, and also other violence is wrong no matter who you are. There's a part of me that started to bristle at the whole political modifier. Like, oh, do you need that? Do you need that qualifier? Like violence is wrong. But yes, political violence is also wrong because all violence is wrong. And because political violence is wrong. Anyway, so he used this rule, and like people are like, oh, wait, Trump didn't do it. The chairman of the FCC, yeah, like the chairman of the FCC is just going to go off on his own and threaten to strip ABC of their broadcast license without talking to Trump first. No, this came from Trump. Donald Trump fired Jimmy Kimmel. Don't be silly. Everybody knows that. Anybody that puts half a thought into it will know it was Donald Trump. Donald Trump's been wanting to get him fired for years. All right. So he illegally used leverage to get Jimmy Kimmel fired. Now, can you imagine, like, after Donald Trump was telling all his lies and Fox News was supporting them? What if Joe Biden had just stripped Fox Broadcast? Now, Fox Broadcasting and Fox News are different, but they're owned under the same umbrella. So what if he said, okay, I'm gonna, and since legality is no longer an issue, what if Joe Biden just said, you know what? I'm gonna strip Fox Corporation of their broadcast license because they keep reporting these lies, after he won the election and he was inaugurated. What do you think? How do you think MAGA would have reacted? You think MAGA would have been like, well, there's responsibility when you speech, which is yes, there is responsibility. And we all know there is responsibility. And we've all been arguing that there's responsibility. And nobody thinks there shouldn't be responsibility. But what there shouldn't be is responsibility from the government. All right. ABC, if ABC had just fired Kimmel on their own because they wanted to fire him, I would not be having this show right now. My issue is not that there were repercussions for speech. My issue is that there were forced repercussions for speech from the president of the United States. If that does not terrify you, something is not thinking right in your head. There's a synapse that should be firing that is not firing right now. Okay. The government having people fired because of dissent is fascism. All right, so that brings me to the second point, which is that Donald Trump, and people have not been talking about this one as much, and it actually has me a lot more concerned, which is that he declared Antifa a terrorist organization, and he didn't just threat people who are in Antifa, which isn't even a real thing. It's an ideology, not an organization. But now it's an organization as far as the government's concerned. And as far as the government's concerned, it's not just if you're in it, it's also if you contribute to it. So anybody that contributes to Antifa, I'm sorry, this is on StreamYard, I think, if that's what you mean. Is OpenStream a different channel? Anyway, this is on StreamYard. So or it's on, I'm sorry, I wish I could tell you. I don't know what OpenStream is. So there are, so now he's saying, okay, Antifa, if you help Antifa at all, if you fund Antifa, I have had people on my show who uh are identify as Antifa, but like not some part of some master organization where people sit around in cell groups and plot terrorist attacks against the country or something. They just think fascism is bad. But they have Antifa in their Twitter bio. And so now, since I've had them on my show and like let them say things on my show, that makes me Antifa, I guess. And since you're watching it, you're Antifa. This is the problem with this vague, abstract Antifa thing. Now, anybody that disagrees with Trump is Antifa. And if you follow me out, all right, in 2001, after the terrorist attacks, there was a law passed that said the Secretary of State could designate groups as terrorist organizations. Then, once you're a terrorist organization, that changes the legality with how the government can act to you. You lose your due process. So it doesn't matter if you're actually Antifa or not, if you're actually doing anything illegal or not, because you don't get a trial. You don't get a chance to say, "Oh, I'm not Antifa." No, you just get shipped off to Gitmo or well, why do you think they're building all of these concentration camps? Is it really just to hold illegal immigrants that they're deporting? What do you think they're going to do with them after they deported everybody? Think they're going to turn them into hotels? No, they're going to fill them up with Antifa. Okay. Oh, yeah, sure. Bear. Just send them the link. Anybody can join this. It's not locked or closed to anybody. So Antifa is so he has like got this history already, right? Like they declared all these, cartels terrorist organizations. And we need to be clear here. Terrorist is a word that has a meaning. And terrorism is like trying to force the government to change through violence. Like you're using violence to terrorize people to stir up the government to change. Right? That is not what Antifa does. It's not what cartels do. Cartels, I'm not saying that they're good guys or anything. They're evil. I do not like the cartels, and I think we should absolutely try and do something to stop fentanyl. And we were. But that does not mean they're a terrorist organization. And the ability to like distinguish between words is one of the worst things with MAGA. Like, and then you say they're not a terrorist organization. Well, Marco Rubio declared them a terrorist organization, therefore they're a terrorist organization. But they don't have terrorist ideology. What is it? What government are they trying to impose if they're terrorists? Tell me what their government goals are. Their goals are money. That's it. All they want to do is sell drugs. They are terrible, horrible people, but not all terrible, horrible people are terrorists. But they declared these organizations as terrorist organizations. And so now they like literally are just killing people out in the open ocean. And then they were terrorists. That makes it okay. All right. Well, you know what? Now you're a terrorist. And killing you is okay. And I can hear them coming on here and talking about the one dude that Obama killed, the American that Obama had killed, and you were okay with the death. He was actually a terrorist who actually planned and trained people to carry out terrorist attacks. He was a terrorist. All right? Don't conflate him with anybody that disagrees with Donald Trump. Alam Marway or whatever his name is. Anyway, if you're Antifa, technically it means you're just against fascism. And so you're either a fascist or you're not. You're either a fascist or you're against it. But are you going to be against it silently or are you going to be against it vocally? We need to be against it vocally. We need to become too big to jail. Remember too big to fail? We need to be too big to jail. Bear, you should just have the link right there on your thing. Hang on, I'll just, you know what? Here you go. There's the link. It should be popping up. So remember, too big to jail. We need to have so many, and like, let's not forget. Now we've got the military police, or the military policing different cities, and this I can see this just. I will actually be shocked if this doesn't happen. Like, there's going to be protests, right? Because everybody's pissed off. That's not MAGA. And so then there's going to be protests. Then Donald Trump is going to call in the National Guard to turn down these terrorist attacks. He's going to call them terrorist attacks, and he's going to have the military go out there, and people are going to die. I have no question about that. I hope to God I'm wrong. And I have never wanted to be more wrong about anything in my entire life. But I would be stunned if he does not send the National Guard on American citizens on October 18th. When the next huge protest. The StreamYard link is for hosts. Oh, I see what you mean by open now. Like, if anybody wanted to jump on and participate, I might do that in a bit, but if I can just finish right now, I don't know where I'm going to go with that. That's a good question, though. Like, if I knew who it was, I might make a bit of a difference. So the next, so you get these people that are like, oh, you're too free and you're calling everybody fascist, and it's like, do you remember Godwin's law? There was this thing called Godwin's law, right? And Godwin's law was back in like the earlier stages of the internet. There was like a law that you knew you lost the argument. Whoever uses the word Nazi first loses the argument. And it was a guy named Godwin that said that, and it became kind of like this internet thing where it's just like, okay, Godwin's law. You lost the argument. You said Nazi, you lost the argument. Then when Trump started running, he released an op-ed and he said, it's not Godwin's law if you're actually talking about Nazis. Basically, like, the idea that it's offensive to call a Nazi is actually Nazi. Like, that you can't call a fascist is a kind of a fascist thing, right? Like, oh, you're limiting my ability to say what you are. I'm not lying. I am telling the truth. And so here's the next thing I want to do, and then maybe we'll come back and have on some guests. Let me show. I gotta just. Trying to find, I had. Okay, so one thing, whenever somebody's, like whenever I say fascist, people say, like magazines will say, define fascism. All right. Defining fascism, like saying define fascism, is a bit of a, what's the word? It's, if you actually have studied fascism, the more you study fascism, the harder it is to find. I'll put it that way. Hey, Joe, thanks. I was just thinking about you the other day. I was like, I haven't seen Joe lately. Anyway, so the next thing I want to, so like, here is the definition of fascism. Where did I? All right, so we'll go here first. What is fascism? All right, I'm sorry. Every time I look at the comments, I lose my train of thought. So fascism, like Mussolini practiced fascism slightly different than Trump, or I mean, than Hitler did, and different than Franco did. Like, not all two fascist governments are identical, right? So there are certain characteristics of fascist governments that tend to be true. Not all of them are always true in every fascist government. But it's like one of those things where it's like, well, if 10 of 14 things are true, then you're probably fascist. So what I want to do is, there are people, historians and whatnot, that have gone through and have looked at the different tenets of fascism. And there are probably much more responsible ways of doing this. I'm just going to go through these. I just Googled tenets of fascism. These are some of the common things among fascist governments. And we'll just, I didn't plan this. I'm just going to walk through it. This is all off the top of my head. If I get something wrong, I'll try and correct myself, or you can correct me or whatever. Yeah. Mussolini invented fascism, right? And then Adolf used it, and well, he did not create national. He took over the National Socialist Party. He did not create National Socialism. Hitler was not a socialist. If you look at the poem, it says, first they came for the socialists. Like, the socialists were the very first people he killed. So this notion that he was socialist is just historically wrong. But okay, so let's go to, sorry, I was responding to a comment that I didn't see. This one. Yeah. So anyway, let's go to the tenets of fascism here. I'm just going to pop up my screen, and we'll read through these together. Oh, wait, first we're going to look at, this is the best definition of, or this is a definition of fascism. Just from the AI. Fascism is far-right, authoritarian, and ultranationalist political ideology defined by a dictatorial leader, the forced suppression of opposition, and the supremacy of the nation or race over the individual. So let's just consider those aspects right there first. Trump is far right. He is authoritarian. He is an ultranationalist. He is well on his way to becoming a dictatorial leader when he starts stripping away our First Amendment rights, our Fourth Amendment rights, our Fifth Amendment rights, our Seventh Amendment rights. He is stripping away our rights one by one. And the Supreme Court, which is his Supreme Court, 100% lets him do it. The forced suppression of opposition, right now, he just made it, you're a terrorist if you disagree with him. And the supremacy of the nation or race or the individual, and America first, right? So, by the definition of the word, he is a fascist. Every aspect of that he finishes, or he's part of, right? So now let's look at some of the characteristics of fascism and see, are we just cherry picking, or is there more to that? Ultranationalism, fascist ideology prioritizes the nation and its people above all else. America first. After promoting a mythic vision of national rebirth from a state of perceived decay. In other words, make America great again, right? We were great. Now we're not. Now we need to be resurrected and become great again. Make America great again is fascism. Like the slogan itself is grounded in fascism. Authoritarianism and a cult of personality. They literally built an idol of Donald Trump and prayed to it. I do not know how much more cultish you can get. They compared Charlie Kirk to Jesus Christ. They have compared Donald Trump to Jesus Christ. There was a study of somebody that he studied every single speech that looked at the prayers before every single speech that Donald Trump gave. And every single speech, this to me is one of the most fascinating things, is every time they would ask God to bless Donald Trump, they would ask God to do right by Donald Trump. It was always like God is supposed to be Donald Trump's plaything. Like God is supposed to answer to Donald Trump. They put Donald Trump over God, and they claim to be Christian. You don't ask God to bless Donald Trump. You ask God to give Trump the strength to follow God in what God wants to do. God would be in charge. If you're like theologically speaking, from a Christian perspective, you should be praying for the leader to follow God, not for God to follow the leader. All right. So that's fascism. There is definitely, if you are not thinking that MAGA is a cult, then a cult of personality, then you are MAGA. Militarism and political violence. Okay. Fascism glorifies military strength. He can't shut up about how much greater the military is. If you do not think he glorifies military strength, then you have not paid attention. As a legitimate and often necessary tool for political change and national rejuvenation. He is literally using the military illegally to do things to solve problems that don't even exist. All right. So, and then fascists frequently use paramilitary groups to intimidate and attack opponents. What happened on January 6th? Don't tell me this doesn't apply to him. It absolutely does. Suppression of opposition. Well, ask Jimmy Kimmel about that. Ask Stephen Colbert about that. Ask NBC about that. Fascist regimes use censorship. Yes, he uses censorship. Secret police, aka ICE, and organized terror to forcibly, yes, organized terror. You don't think that ICE is organized terror? Pay attention. If you're brown, you are afraid of walking on the street right now. Because all you have to do is be brown and walking on the street for ICE to arrest you. Free and fair elections are manipulated or eliminated. Haven't got there yet, but he is trying to, get everybody to change their all the red states to change their represent. I can't think of the word. Anyway, he's trying to steal Congress. He's trying to gerrymander Congress so that they can keep the House. That's what I'm trying to say. And unprecedented, President of the United States telling states to redistrict in the middle of a decade so that they can hold the House. How is that not using the power, or how is that not manipulating free and fair elections? It is absolutely manipulating free and fair elections. All right, so now we're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 4 characteristic or 5 characteristics, where he's like 5 for 5. Emphasis on hierarchy. Fascism believes in a natural social hierarchy where individuals and their interests are subordinated to the state and the elite. This often comes with an obsession with order and discipline. This one's a little bit I think there's some degree he's doing this, but yeah, I think after now that I think about it for a second, the big beautiful bill and the way that it took benefits away from the poor and gave tax cuts to the rich and all of that, I think that is definitely reinforcing the hierarchy. It is instituting the hierarchy. He is making social mobility almost impossible. So yeah, I would say that there are things that there are ladders that have been there for the last 60 years that have helped people climb from the bottom to the top, and those ladders no longer exist. So yes, there is an emphasis on hierarchy. Hostility to other ideologies. Well, he just made it illegal to have a different ideology. Fascism is fundamentally anti-communist, anti-liberal, and anti-democratic. It actively opposes ideologies that promote individualism, like, being a transgender person, class conflict, like saying, for instance, that, maybe billionaires should be taxed, or internationalism, like saying maybe, like NATO is good. Other countries exist. Other countries have rights, right? He's definitely 100% onto that one. Scapegoating and xenophobia. Do we even need to talk about that? Like 99% out of his words out of his mouth are one of those two things. All right. So, all right, coming back here. Sorry, I was reading that screen. So if anything happened on this screen while I was gone, so all right. I'm going to all right, let me do this. Bear, all right, I'm gonna do this. I'm just gonna go ahead and do this. I hope I don't end up regretting it. Like, I do not mind having a fair and honest conversation and debate, but my history with MAGAs is not good. I find there's not a lot of honesty there. Yeah, I'm sorry. This is just not the time. I'm not ready to have a debate. Looking through some of your comments, you don't seem like a you don't seem like a bad person. You don't seem like a mean person. But I am not of the temperament right now to have like to defend, like not destroying the First Amendment. I don't want to get. Oh, okay, all right. Well, then maybe that's a bit different. All right. So if you're, as long as you're not a MAGA, not that I don't mind debating MAGAs. It's just like right now, it's like I served in the military. I love my country, and I'm watching it destroyed, and I don't mean destroyed the way that Trump does when he just makes up stuff about the economy. I mean, like literally destroyed. Like the first, I should do a whole show on just the amendments that he's attacked. Our freedoms are being eliminated one by one, and it won't be long before The Second Amendment only applies, he's going to make it illegal to own a gun if you're Antifa. Mark my words. And they lie about everything. They lie about the shootings. And I was thinking about Desmond Holley. Nobody knows who Desmond Holley is. Do you guys know who Desmond Holley is? I think Christo might. Maybe, probably Joe. Joe's actually seems to be pretty well read. But yes, and the word I was looking for was district maps. Thank you, Joe. The Desmond Holley. Right at the same time that Charlie Kirk was getting shot, Desmond Holley was shooting up a school because he was a white supremacist. And the fact that we all know who Tyler Robinson is, and nobody knows who Desmond Holley is telling. It's very telling. I mean, and I'm not, he said he was a white supremacist. This is not like me assigning blame. Tyler Robinson has not said he's a leftist or a MAGA. He hasn't said a damn thing. We don't know why he did it. We don't. You might think you do if you're on the left. You might think you do if you're on the right. I have my opinions on it, but I will not like die on the hill. I think that we are living in a conflicted country right now, and he was the embodiment of that conflict. Right versus left, warring with each other all of the time. And he's a kid. I mean, not a kid. He's like 22. One thing I don't like is like when people are like, oh, he was radicalized by the left. He's a grown man with free agency. If he was radicalized, it's because he chose to get radicalized. He's not, like some passive object. And, like sometimes with younger kids, I can see it. Their brain isn't fully formed. His brain is fully formed. He can make his own decisions, make his own choices, learn what he wants to learn. But I think that there are very emotional things that were driving at him, and eventually they drove him to kill somebody. And that is wrong. And that is illegal and immoral and hateful, and I do not defend it in any way. But I am not just going to say it, blame it on the fact that he went to the sixth most conservative college in the country and just say it's the entire left's fault. I don't see anybody on the left encouraging violence. I see people on the right encouraging violence. I saw Donald Trump react to that by saying, when they spit on us, we should punch them. The president of the United States advocated for escalating the violence, not slowing it down. He called me a terrorist yesterday because I'm against fascism. I am not Antifa in the sense that I don't go around in black garb and, like picking fights with Proud Boys or whatever. But I'm Antifa in the fact that I am against fascism. And how long before that line starts to blur? How long just before just being against Trump makes you a terrorist? And he keeps taking the next step. And then people say, oh, he's going to stop here. And then he takes another step. When you make a deal with the playground, when you make a deal with a bully on a playground and give him your money, you are making a deal that you will give him your money every day. Not one day. Every day. He's going to come back to you the next day and he's going to ask for it again. Once you hand it over, you that's it. So yeah, Christo's heard of him. Just didn't know the name. But anyway. All right. Joe, bet in a month, Trump will declare that we are not that far. I mean, we're really not. They basically consider it the same thing, right? like Antifa, Democratic Party, the left, PBS, Big Bird. Everybody's Antifa. Everybody's a terrorist now. All right. I feel like I lowered my blood pressure. Got that out of my system. But so here's what I want to say. We need to be too big to jail. We need to be too big to jail. We do not need 5 million or 10 million people on the streets on October 18th. We need 50 million people on the streets on October 18th. We need to make it so big, so loud, so obvious that it is impossible to ignore and impossible to put down, as George Soros paid for it. We need to be big enough that corporations pay attention. To where they start pulling their funding from the GOP again, like they did during the Floyd protests, when it was acceptable to be anti-racist. But now you can't be anti-racist and you can't be anti-fascist either. Because it's mean to call racists and fascists racist or fascists. All right. Well, I think I said my piece. And I think I'm going to come back tomorrow again. I'm got good news for those of you. I think, Joe, you know Hannah. Or not Hannah. Nahan. I accidentally said the wrong name. So anyway, thank you guys for coming. It's nice. It's always so much nicer when I have comments in the YouTube section because I know I'm not just talking to myself. Appreciate you guys. Joe, Christo, known you guys for a bit, and Bear, it was nice to meet you. And if you are on Twitter or Blue Sky, just and you don't know my profile, I'm Machine Pun Kelly, the same I am here. Just send me a DM. If you want, what we can do is we can set up an interview with you, and we can just talk, the two of us. And like when I am and emotionally in a better place, but right now I am just I'm 58 years old, and last night was the scariest night in the history of the country to me, because we are that close. We're that close. And like when I was talking about mass deportations and tariffs and how they were going to cause stagflation, and like I had people saying I was being, hyperbolic, and here we are. And when I said that Donald Trump was a fascist and he was going to do things like take away our rights, I was hyperbolic. I was being told I was hyperbolic, but here we are. All right. I am not being hyperbolic. This is it. This is Custer's last stand, people. We either survive now or die later. Well, I guess if we do survive now, we will die later. So maybe that's not the right way to say it. But if you want to see America have a 250th birthday party, protest. That's it. That's the tweet. All right, peeps. Appreciate you guys.